Hi, welcome back to the Petersen Automotive Museum YouTube channel. I'm Johnny Eisen, Associate Curator here at the museum, and today we're going to look at one of the most influential custom cars ever built, Ed Big Daddy Roth's Outlaw. Ed Roth was one of the most influential personalities of the 1950s and 60s. He was an artist, an illustrator, he made t-shirts, he was a pinstriper, and a custom car builder. He helped bring an underground subculture into the mainstream and was an icon for the beatnik movement. Ed grew up in Bell, California, just south of Los Angeles here. He learned to love tinkering from his father, a cabinet maker, and when he was in high school, he started customizing cars. His very first custom car was a 1938 Chevy, which he lowered the front end and de-chromed and would drive to school and had a car that looked like nobody else's in the high school parking lot. After high school in 1951, Ed joined the Air Force and was sent to Morocco, where he was stationed at what he claimed was a UFO tracking station. That probably influenced the look of this car a little bit. And whether or not that's true, well, we'll never know because Ed's life story changed every time he told it. What we do know is that while in the Air Force, Ed got his first paying gig as an artist, where he would start painting servicemen's names on their duffel bags. Then, after he left the service, he taught himself pinstriping and started a business where he would pinstripe just about anything with wheels. He charged $4 for a whole car, and he advertised his business in another custom car on which he put this grotesque papier-mâché head. And that was kind of the start of the Ed Roth look. He was fascinated with the grotesque and the weird. And one time he was paid to make some t-shirts for a local car club. And what he did was, instead of just painting the name of the car club on the shirts, he painted these bizarre caricatures of all the members of the club. When someone was photographed wearing one of these t-shirts, and that photograph was published in a hot rod magazine, people went crazy and everybody wanted an Ed Roth weirdo t-shirt. So when his t-shirt business took off, Ed decided he would use that money to open his own custom car shop, where he would do more pinstriping as well as creating customs from the ground up. And he used kind of the t-shirts to promote the cars and the cars to promote the t-shirts. While he was in the service, he saw an article about a new material, fiberglass. And then after the war, he saw how surfers would use fiberglass to repair their surfboards. And he got a bright idea. He was like, I could make a car entirely out of fiberglass. The Corvette hadn't really come out yet, and people weren't really using fiberglass in an automotive format. But Ed knew here was something where you could mold a car body into whatever shape you wanted. And he got the idea to be inspired by a tea bucket, except make it a little bit crazier, make it a little bit more futuristic and a little bit more like a UFO. And that's how we got the Outlaw. So this car was originally called the Excalibur because Ed used an old sword as the shifter. That wasn't very practical and easy to use, so he removed the sword and put a traditional shifter in the car and changed the name to the Outlaw. So why call it the Outlaw? Well, it was kind of an outlaw in that it did not follow any of the traditional ways to build a hot rod. There's nothing about this car that is conventional. The body is an interpretation of a tea bucket, and it has this beautiful sculpted shape with this unusual tail here, and even the paint job is completely unique and was something invented by Ed. Prior to building this car, Ed had no experience with fiberglass, and it was really trial and error that got him to this point. He did know that he wanted to use a mold to build the main body of the car, which he did. He took a buck, then made a female mold, and laid the fiberglass inside. It was very carefully designed. This is exactly the vision that he had for this part of the body. And one reason that he did want to use a mold was so that he could produce more copies of this body after building this car and sell them and use those proceeds to pretty much pay for the build of this car and to help expand his business. He ended up only selling a handful of these bodies after making the Outlaw, but the car was going to prove extremely influential anyway. As we move to the front of the car, it has this very unique kind of insectoid shape at the nose. And this Ed actually did very freeform. He just kind of eyeballed it, kept laying down fiberglass, shaping it into where he liked it, and then chose accessories that kind of fit this unique nose. Today we think of fiberglass as something very light and a way to save weight on a car, but at the time fiberglass was very thick, and really the reason that Ed used it was because it was something he could mold very easily into any shape, much like we saw with the LaSalle concept cars where they were building one-off cars, so they used fiberglass as opposed to steel because it was easy to make a unique body style. Ed mounted his body on a 1929 Ford Model A frame. He used a 1949 Cadillac V8 engine that he found in a junkyard and got drag racing legend Mickey Thompson to soup it up. Mickey Thompson's also known for his renowned racing tires. You've got a Krager intake manifold and 4 Stromberg carburetors, and this car can definitely go to match its looks. So Ed created a pretty unique front suspension system. You've got a 1937 straight axle from a Ford. You've got it hanging on these spring cups with some cut down 1958 Chevy coil springs. Inside are Airstream trailer airbags. And then you've got these unique outboard mounted Mercury shock absorbers. Ed painted this car himself at George Barris's studio in his signature kind of scallop style. The blue is actually the second paint job this car got. Originally, it had a green paint scheme when it made its debut in 1959 at Disneyland at a custom car day there. This car was pretty much an instant sensation when people first saw it. It was unlike anything anybody had ever seen before, and it inspired a whole wave of fiberglass fantasy hot rods after it. It was on the cover of Car-Crazed magazine in 1960, which exposed it to people from coast to coast. Ed then started touring the car around the country. And finally, Revell, the company that produces scale model plastic kits, licensed it for a kit of their own. They actually gave Ed his Big Daddy nickname. They decided he needed some kind of cool nickname that they could put on the box to help sell these model kits. And they came up with Big Daddy, inspired by Daddy-O, the moniker that beatniks would use to call each other. And so Ed Big Daddy Roth was born. It was perfect for Ed's attitude as well as his place as the father of the modern hot rod, and you can still buy an Outlaw model kit today. So as you can see, the driving position in this car is very uncomfortable. While this car is totally operational and functional, it wasn't really meant to be driven on the street. It was a show car. It was meant to be shown. You would sort of drive it around the parking lot, drive it into your parking space, and that was it. It's very cramped in there. The pedals are very close to the driver's seat. The floor is flat and very high, and it's got this short, stubby little shifter. So really, it is not a fun thing to drive, although people would actually drive these hot rods because they wanted to show them off. But as far as a daily driver is concerned, it was really not the most comfortable thing to be in. We see this turquoise and white color scheme is very much of the era, and the seat kind of reminds me of a 1950s diner. The rear suspension is also pretty interesting. It's this one chromed leaf spring that runs across the car and is tucked under the frame here, as well as a pair of shock absorbers next to the wheels. So that's a brief look at one of the most unique and important custom cars ever built, Ed Big Daddy Roth's Outlaw. It's part of the permanent collection here at the Petersen and usually lives in our vault. Go downstairs and visit it. It's a really rare look at a very important car. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to stay up to date on all our videos. And when you're in Los Angeles, come on and visit us here at the Petersen Automotive Museum.